Hello and welcome to Back to the Science. I'm Dr. Susan Oliver and I'm a scientist. A while ago, I published a video about a number of false claims that were being made about the Pfizer documents. Well, there's been another lot of Pfizer documents released and the claims being made this time are just as crazy. So this is just a quick video to debunk one of those claims. And that is a claim relating to safety data and pregnancy. We are being told that we have just found out that Pfizer recommended not giving the vaccine to pregnant people. Wow! Yeah, not so fast. So this is the information that was supposedly just released in the Pfizer document, and I'll just read it out to you. Pregnancy. There are no or limited amount of data from the use of COVID-19 mRNA vaccine BNT162b2. Animal reproductive toxicity studies have not been completed. COVID-19 mRNA vaccine BNT162b2 is not recommended during pregnancy. For women of childbearing age, pregnancy should be excluded before vaccination. In addition, women of childbearing age should be advised to avoid pregnancy for at least 2 months after the second dose. Breastfeeding. It is unknown whether COVID-19 mRNA vaccine BNT162b2 is excreted in human milk. A risk to the newborns, infants cannot be excluded. COVID-19 mRNA vaccine BNT162b2 should not be used during breastfeeding. Fertility. It is unknown whether COVID-19 mRNA vaccine BNT162b2 has an impact on fertility. And as you can see, there's lots of red underlining and asterisks that have been added by people sharing the information, which makes it so much more compelling, right? Now, my first thought on reading this information was, why is anyone even talking about it? That's exactly what you would expect to have been in the document files that were submitted for approval. We know that the original clinical trials excluded pregnant women and therefore there was limited data. And we know this because the information was made publicly available by regulatory authorities around the world. Here's an example from the CDC, which I got from the Wayback Machine. And it's the information that the CDC provided on the 15th of December 2020. And as you can see, it says down the bottom, there are limited data about the safety of COVID-19 vaccines for people who are pregnant. So why is anyone making a big deal about this? Is it possible that antivaxxers can't remember what was said less than 2 years ago? I was perplexed. But then I decided to look a bit further into it. And it turns out that the claims were even more ridiculous than I first thought. Because it turns out that the document that is being shared wasn't even part of the Pfizer data that was released by the FDA from the Freedom of Information Act request. It turns out it's actually a publicly available document from another regulatory agency. In this case, the UK MHRA. It's actually a document they shared publicly on the 8th of December 2020, and here it is here. Again, I've got a copy of this used in the Wayback Machine, and I'll provide a link in the video's description so you can look at it yourself. So this information that was supposedly kept from the public was actually provided to the public by the UK regulatory agency. You can't make this stuff up. Now, it's important to know that this was the information as of the 8th of December 2020. And that was before the vaccine was available to anyone in the UK. The information was updated on the 31st of December 2020 after the animal trials were actually completed. And this is the information that was updated on the UK MHRA website on the 31st of December 2020. I'm guessing at least they were all busy working and not attending illegal New Year's Eve parties. Anyway, I'll read it out to you. Pregnancy. There is limited experience with the use of COVID-19 mRNA vaccine BNT162b2 in pregnant women. Animal studies do not indicate direct or indirect harmful effects with respect to pregnancy, embryo fetal development, parturition, or postnatal development. See section 5.3. Administration of the COVID-19 mRNA vaccine BNT162b2 in pregnancy should only be considered when the potential benefits outweigh any potential risks for the mother and fetus. Breastfeeding. It is unknown whether COVID-19 mRNA vaccine BNT162b2 is excreted in human milk. Fertility. Animal studies do not indicate direct or indirect harmful effects with respect to reproductive toxicity. See section 5.3. And if you go to section 5.3, you can read a summary of the animal studies. If you'd like more information, you're in luck because the information has now been peer-reviewed and published. So let's have a quick look at it now. So this is a study, and it was published in a journal called Reproductive Toxicology, which is a very appropriate journal to be publishing it in. The study was done in rats, and there were 44 rats in the control group and 44 in the vaccine group. Each rat received a total of 4 doses of either the BNT162b2 vaccine or saline. They got 2 doses prior to mating and 2 doses while they were pregnant. And the dose they received was the full human dose, which is more than 300 times the equivalent dose if you look at it on a milligram per kilogram basis. So what did they find? Let's have a look. There were no adverse effects of BNT162b2 on female rat fertility or reproduction. The offspring of the vaccinated rats acquired SARS-CoV-2 neutralising antibodies, and there were no adverse effects on rat offspring following maternal vaccination. So the information in the document that's being shared that says animal studies aren't completed is no longer true. It's out of date because they have now been completed. And of course, the same studies have also been completed for other COVID vaccines that are available. Furthermore, there's also now been a number of studies looking at the vaccine in pregnant and lactating women. So let's have a quick look at that now. So there have been quite a number of studies that have looked at the effect of COVID vaccines on pregnant people. And this particular paper, which was published in the International Journal of Gynecology and Obstetrics, is a systematic review of those studies. They identified 23 studies in total, and those studies were specifically looking at either pregnant or lactating individuals who had received 1 or more doses of a COVID vaccine. And the vaccines studied included Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and AstraZeneca. And this is what they found. Firstly, they found evidence that immunity had been passed on to infants, which is a good thing. They also found that the level of side effects was the same in pregnant and lactating people as in the general population. Most importantly, there was no increased risk of adverse obstetrical or neonatal outcomes. And this led the authors to the following conclusion. COVID-19 vaccination in pregnant and lactating individuals is immunogenic, does not cause significant vaccine-related adverse events or obstetrical or neonatal outcomes, and is effective in preventing COVID-19 disease. So, in summary, the paper that is being shared is not a Pfizer document. It hasn't just been released. It's part of the public information that was released by the UK MHRA as part of the approval process. It's also completely out of date because animal studies have now been completed, as have a number of studies in pregnant and lactating women. And those studies show that all COVID vaccines are safe in both pregnancy and lactation, unlike COVID, where you are at an increased risk if you're pregnant. If you'd like to look further into the data that I've presented, I've provided links in the video's description. And please remember, this video is about the science, but you shouldn't take it as medical advice. For that, you should speak to your medical practitioner. Thank you for listening. If you found this video useful, please hit the like button so that more people will see it. And if you'd like to see more videos about the science in the future, please hit the subscribe button.